And I flipped it over. Hello, everybody. Oh, I shouldn't pound my desk. It vibrates my camera. I am Aaron, and we're going to be walking through building a Shadowrun 5 character for an upcoming stream. We're going to grab Chris, who's above me in the stream. First off, we'll go through and introduce ourselves a little bit, and then just sort of dive right in. So let's start with Danny.
I'm a Shadowrun guru, some might say. I am the developer currently for the living campaign on Shadowrun.
Awesome. Chris, how about you introduce yourself?
Hey, what's going on, guys? No, my name's Chris. I am spanking new to this. Literally my first time being run through this, so please be gentle.
We're going to make you a kick-ass character is what we're going to do. So my name's Aaron. I stream some Shadowrun both here and on my own channel. And I help out a little bit with the Rem Alternis stuff, and I help out Danny with some of the living campaign stuff for Shadowrun. So hopefully we can help you put together something a little bit fun and really match what your core character concept is. So actually with that, we should probably go over and talk a little bit about what that core concept is to kind of set the basis for what we're going to build.
Oh, okay. So yeah, what I'd like to build is something, kind of luxury, magic-y, to be able to summon spirits and throw haymakers and write hooks and shit.
So a boxer with a firm thread in the magical realm.
Yeah. Then like with spirits, or like being able to like tap into ancestors, something along those lines.
What are you thinking about in terms of like your meta race? Are you thinking like within Shadowrun there's the main 5 and then there's some variants off of that? The main 5s being dwarf, elf, human, or control. Each of them has sort of different base level stats and has higher caps or lower caps.
I was thinking either something like human or maybe an orc. Really don't want to be something that's too alien from what I am. I just kind of want to be able to relate to it.
Okay, and then Danny, do you have any specific questions about that initial priority?
No, I don't have any questions about it. I have things to say, but I don't have any questions.
I'll take the things to say then.
Alrighty.
I think Danny froze.
Was he saying? I was about to say, is he saying anything?
His mouth's not moving.
Huh.
Okay.
He's just thinking about.
Let me I
think that's a reconnect.
Oh.
So within the party system, you've got A, B, C, D, and E, and those can represent your meta type, which would be whatever your meta race is. Could be your attributes. So how many points? Ooh, you're back.
guess I'm back.
Okay. So
Welcome
you
back.
had froze as soon as you started the talk, and then.
Like I had things to say, and then it was it. Again?
So, some days the internet works against us, right?
Internet is undefeated.
So then you have attributes. Attributes are your base stats. So these are going to be things like your strength, your body, your agility, your reaction, your willpower, charisma, intuition. Basically the things that set your base dice pools, but also describe your character at some level. Then there's magic and resonance. These are things that are going to dictate whether you're a physical adept, somebody who uses magic internally, you're a mage or shaman, and you're casting spells outwardly. There's a mystic adept, which sort of cuts the balance, but there's also there's also resonance, which is for if we went down the hacking side, but it doesn't seem like that's part of your core concept. So it sounds like either a mystic adept or a physical adept at this point. The others are skills and resources. And so it's a matter of then figuring out, like, if I put an A in metatype, it means that I have the most sort of extra points to spend on my magic and my edge at character creation, or sorry, as part of my metatype, which is useful if you're a troll, if you have it really high. If you're human, you can set it down a little bit lower. Okay, Danny's moving a lot more.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Like, you guys have never stopped. Like, you guys talking and everything. Like, everything's coming back to me. It's just the upload has been wonky, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, because I've still got Chris pretty good. So.
All right, let's try this again.
All right. So, walk through the different A, B, C, D, and E. But you had things you wanted to say.
Well, I'm afraid to say them now. All right. Well, I was going to say, if this is going to work, I was going to say that if you're vacillating between human and orc, then I would suggest going orc. For this build, that is where your optimum settings are going to be. Chris had said before that he is one of those fellas who believes that having the best mechanical set that supports your character concept is what he likes to go for. And given that I'm of the same mind, that would be where I would start.
Which means that for your priority table, that means that you need to take metatype at C or higher in order to be able to support orc.
Right.
Which means that something else has to end up then dropping.
And a really good one to drop, since you're going to be a boxer, and of course, no boxer is wealthy until he makes it big in the arena. Resources.
All right, so we have an E for resources. Well, you haven't taken a drop, right? Like, and so you haven't gotten your funding because you're not going to drop in the ring.
Yeah, this is the beginning of your career, right? So you've been giving it all up for this until this moment. You've been giving it all up. You've been just focused on the grind, right? So your money's low. You got enough for an apartment. You got your gym membership, right? You got your boxing coach.
My gym membership. I got my wraps. I got my shoes.
Yeah.
I need like an MP3 player though. That's what I do need.
That's easy. I mean, you got $6,000. We call it Nguyen to play with. So we'll get you your MP3 player.
Now, there's attributes is the one I was going to go after next, right? Like, I have a natural tendency to always take attributes A, mostly because I think that gives you a better base.
Sounds good to me.
So I would agree. I would agree with attributes A, though that's something that I would start at as I was building out a character, and then I would kind of play with a little bit to see if that might change. My next question is, your character is a boxer. Is that where the totality of his, we'll call them professional skills might lie? Or, was he a soldier as well before in a past life, and so he's got some skill with firearms? Or was he, did he end up working for the mob as a tough, but then he also had to learn, how to break and enter and stuff? Or is he a boxer?
He was kind of like a street urchin. Like, he had to like break in and like learn how to steal and stuff to survive on the streets. And then he found his mentor into the gym, and he tragically died. Let's say, and he could still like see him and still receive instruction from him from beyond the grave, and it keeps him on the kind of straight and narrow.
Okay, so what I just heard all of that.
Crooked.
So what I just heard there is that skills are going to be at D.
That's what I heard as well.
Yeah.
But skills are going to be what?
At D.
At D.
Okay.
So that means you're going to have 22 skill points. The max we can put into any one skill to start is 6. What I just heard is that we're going to put unarmed combat at 6. We're going to then also probably purchase a specialization into boxing of some sort, and then we still have 16 points to kind of spread out into some, like, maybe into running, maybe into sneaking, and then maybe into like lockpick or something.
Yeah. Are there any like specific like defensive skills?
Not particularly in terms of skills. There used to be a dodge skill, but really with our attributes at A, that's where your defense is going to come from, as well as your offense.
Yeah, and there are ways to boost your defense as well, just from either your armor for your soak, how you'd handle damage, or if you end up taking like combat sense, you can get a little extra on your dodge ability. So it does mean that we're down to meta type and magic resonance. The last two is either being B or C and flip-flopping those, which is a pretty good place to be.
So, all right. So this is where we have a difference between total optimization and maybe what you're looking for to start. So as an adept, we're lucky that you're going to top out at B for adept, which would give you that full 6 magic rating. However, if you take orc at C, you're going to start with no additional edge. Whereas if you take orc at B, you can flush out those 2 magic points and have a starting edge of 3, or you can start with edge up to 5 with magic staying at 4. So honestly, it's kind of a no-brainer. You're going to lose, what is it, like a couple skill points? You're going to lose 2 skill points.
Yeah.
But you're going to have 2 more edge points, which the difference is it's like saying you have a choice. You have a choice. I can give you $1 or I can give you $100.
Let me get the $100, please.
Yeah. So your meta type is going to be at B, priority B, which is going to give you 4 special attribute points. So we'll go over that in a minute. And then your magic is going to be at the C rating.
So I've put up on the stream at this point, like, you should be able to see a base starting point. Down the right-hand side of the screen, you have kind of a summary of the points we have to spend yet. And that's going to be across your base attributes and then your skills. They tend to go in rough order. It works out pretty well. And so we'll start with the common, which is your base attributes, and figure out where your core concept is within that. You should see body, agility, strength, reaction, charisma, intuition, logic, and willpower. These are that sort of starting. If you're a boxer, it seems like strength, body, and willpower are going to be your big ones. At least for being able to soak. Although we've got 24 to spend, right? So we could max those and keep on going.
Well, so why don't we start from the top and just talk about what each of these is going to do for him?
Okay. We'll let you take.
I have no idea what any of these mean.
Okay, so body. So you come from Dungeons and Dragons. Body is your constitution. It is most mechanically, it is going to determine your soak, which is whenever you take damage, there's a chance that some of that damage is mitigated simply because you're a beefy guy. Okay. So remember, everything scales for a human 1 to 6. Okay. More on like a role play sort of a fluff level. Body can also be an indicator of just how big your guy is. Whether he's whether he's a stocky guy, big boned, or overweight. Body can be that. So if your body is a 1, you're fairly scrawny. If your body is a 5, 6, you're pretty beefy. As an orc, you max out at 8. And a real quick caveat:
9. You
can
were in
only
6th
start
edition.
the game with one of. Oh, we're in 6th edition.
No, we're in 5th edition, so it's 9.
5th edition. It's 9.
Okay.
Okay.
It's 8.
You're right. It's 9. It's yeah. Okay. So much in my brain.
Yes.
So yeah. As an orc, the minimum is I believe 4.
Yes.
And so you orcs are always going to be beefy boys. But that's basically, in a nutshell, what it does for you is it's going to be a mitigator for damage. And we'll get into mitigating damage, dodge versus soak, a little bit later when you're making some decisions. So that's body. Body's your constitution. Bottom line, mitigates damage and maybe some poison resistance. All right. Agility is the next stat. This is going to be 6. You're going to max this out.
Okay.
You're going to. Agility is your ability to maneuver around, move your body, etc. It plays in 2 places. One is your actual speed to get from point A to point B. So the higher your agility is, the faster you move from point A to point B. As some people that play Shadowrun with me, that comes into play a lot for my games. Because I reward people with high agilities by saying you get to the fight, and people with low agilities by not ever getting to the fight. That's what you get.
Rule number 1: cardio.
Yeah. So, but also it directly affects your ability to hit something. Okay. So this is you're actually getting your fist to their face is agility. If your agility is too low, it doesn't matter how strong you are, you can't hit nobody, doesn't matter. So agility is getting your fist to their face. And whenever you make an attack in this game, your net successes, so the better you actually hit them. So in Dungeons & Dragons, you would think about it like this. Let's say their armor class is 16, right? So you roll a 20-sided dice, you get a 16 on the money, you hit, you do damage. Well, in Shadowrun, the concept is if you got a 17, you do 1 more point of damage. If you got an 18, you do 2 more points of damage, right? So for every additional success, you're doing more damage to the base damage of your weapon. Okay. So that's agility. So that's why it's 6, because it's going to help you hit, and that indirectly also affects your damage as well. Reaction. This is your ability to get the hell out of the way of someone trying to hit you. You're asking about defense. Okay. So this is the can you actually move out of the way quickly enough? It also helps with driving skills.
The bob and like the weave stat. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, bob and weave. All right, strength 4. 100%, this is your base damage. If you're a punchy guy, this is the base damage. So if I'm a shooty guy, I don't care about strength because my strength does not impact how hard my bullets hit somebody. But you're a punchy guy, so this is your base damage. The base damage of most handguns is about 4 to 5. And then the base damage of like the biggest sniper rifles are like 11. So that's your spread, right? So you could have up to 8 here, which means that you would be punching about as hard as an assault rifle bullet would hit. Okay, but it's directly your base damage. Willpower. All right. So willpower is one of those things that if you have a lot of abilities, and you're going to have some that are magically taxing, willpower and your body work together to keep you from being magically taxed, to keep the stress of the magic from wearing you down. It's probably going to need to be a 3 or 4 at least if you don't have room to make it higher. But it doesn't really help in a lot of other places except like mind control magic and stuff like that.
There is 2
it's
health
probably
tracks, right? Like that's the other bit. So you have 2 health tracks. One is based on body, and then one is based on your willpower. So whether you get
yeah.
stunned out, so if somebody hits you with a fist, you'll have a glass jaw if you only have a willpower of 1.
Yeah. So the way it scales though is, yeah, I would definitely not have a willpower of 1 or 2.
Character. Oh, yeah, definitely want him to be a resilient character in both like mind and body.
Right.
Want him to be able to like be not just like physically tough, but like understands that he can get through. Like as long as he keeps his head low and he keeps his shell tight, whatnot, moves correctly, he can get out of can get out of situations. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to need, like I said, a 3 or 4 willpower. I wouldn't go 5 or 6 with willpower, unless I had a really specific fear of mind control magic. Just because the scaling's not there. Like Aaron said, these help you get keep your damage tracks. So if in D&D it'd be like if there were hit points for like getting stabbed versus hit points for getting like just punched, right? The idea is that if someone pummels you down, you're not dead necessarily, you're just knocked out. I mean, they could still kill you if they just continue to keep punching you in the face, but and that is reflected in this, but that's what it's kind of like, and willpower helps with that, but it doesn't scale. So the difference between having a 3 and 4 in your total hit points versus the difference between having a 5 and 6 in your total hit points is negligible compared to where you can put those points otherwise. Which is going to bring us to logic.
Aspect.
Yes, very much, very diminishing returns. Logic is the next one. That is your book smarts, your level of education, your ability to draw on knowledge that you have gained. This is your dump stat. The only consideration for logic is against mind controlling magic. That's the only consideration that you have for logic. If you make yourself, if you were min-maxing and you left this at 1 or 2, this is where the game master is going to punish you, right? Because suddenly you're not your team's boxer anymore. You're now the enemy's boxer, and that's what they'll do because your logic is low. But there's ways to work around that, and we'll talk about those later. Intuition. This is the other half of your defensive traits. Okay. So reaction is your ability to actually get your bulk out of the way, but intuition is your ability to see it coming, right? So that's the abstract. So intuition and reaction together combine to form your defense. Intuition is also helpful because it is it's your ability to perceive and notice the things around you. So if you're doing any sort of perception stat, do you see the guy sneaking up? Do you hear anybody? That's going to be under your intuition. Counterintuitively,
I would like that pretty high.
Yes. Counterintuitively, even though a boxer is like a more of a physical person, of reaction and intuition, the benefits they give you for the boxer aspect are equal, but the benefits outside of that, intuition is preferable. And then finally, charisma. I would say this is your other dump stat, but you got to have some amount of charisma if you're going to be a star boxer. Right? You just have to.
Yeah, no.
Right.
I mean, I kind of have to have some kind of personality to draw the fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, but simply mechanically, this is dump stat number 2. So.
Gotcha.
So I would say your primaries these are your primaries: agility, strength, and then your secondaries are going to be reaction, intuition, and body. And then you would raise your willpower as you can, and then logic and charisma you would bump up as if you have points to do it.
Now I have a tendency in this case
I have 24 points
to use karma to bump that last 1 point up to a 2. is a tendency I have. So
Yes, and that's completely based on how karma is spent versus how these initial points are spent.
Yep.
And so for everybody, the way this works is during character creation, you have X points to raise your attributes. So if you, and it's 1 for 1, right? But once you're raising them with karma, it's 5 points of karma for every point of attribute you're trying to raise. So it works out like this. If you have right now, you have a 1 in this in attribute A, and you have a 5 in attribute B. And your goal is to have a 2, 6. And you have 1 point to spend between them. If you raise your 5 up to a 6, it's only going to cost you 10 karma to get that 1 to a 2. But if you spend that 1 point to get your 1 to a 2 because you have something in your head that says, I can't leave it at 1, it's going to cost you 30 karma to get that 6 to have that same end result, right? So
what I've
Gotcha.
what I've set up so far is that I've got your agility is maxed, and then you can only have one thing at max, and then everything else can cap out at 1 minus max. And that's what I've set for body, reaction, strength, and intuition. And then I took will up as high as I could, which leaves charisma and logic at 1.
Alrighty.
Which is probably a good starting
Seems
point.
good.
That means you're going to hit hard. You're pretty likely to hit, unless we wanted to take some of those positive qualities. Which, if your core concept is like you are highly accurate as a boxer, you could take a positive quality of exceptional attribute and raise your racial max from 6 to 7. But likely you'll
Okay.
use magic to
Alright.
help boost you there. And so we probably can leave that alone, and that leaves you a pretty good attribute spread.
So this is where I am going to have a mild disagreement with where you put everything, and it is very mild. I would swap body and strength. I would make strength 8 and body 7.
I can't
Because
make
if you're
strength
not going to
8.
go body, you can't. Oh, strength max is at 8. Body
Yeah.
max is at 9. That's right. In that case, I have no issues with these numbers as posted.
I now
When you have
retract
when
my
you have
mild disagreement.
yes. When you have 24 points, you're not going to be hurting for attributes. That's the fact. Yeah, I think you know, but the only, I mean, if I were really like, I might take time later and see if I could take that body 8 down to 7 and maybe either push my willpower up, depending on how much karma I'm trying to spend for other things, whether I might want to just go ahead and use that on logic or charisma. But right now, at this point of the process, this is where I would have it.
Yeah. The only thing I would
Boom.
sort of to reiterate on what Danny said is I would look at maybe taking body down to 7, but also taking willpower down to 3. And then that gives me 2 points that I can put into something. If it's only 1 point, I never bother with it. But if it's 2, that actually starts making it worth my cost. And then I can take charisma up to 3. But yeah, I would start with this.
Let's go ahead and get a 3 in charisma. Actually, yeah, let's go ahead and do that now. I don't want to not be charismatic at all. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if that's part of your concept, that makes a lot of sense. Skills or magic?
I would say let's look at our special attributes. Let's finish out attributes.
Okay.
It's not going to be tough, but so the first one is your edge, and then your magic. Those are your 2 attributes. Not everyone has 2 special attributes, but as a magical character, you do. Your edge is so this is basically just what it boils down to. Edge is luck, right? It's what it boils down to. It's that special something, that special extra that's going on with your character, that you can just pull stuff out of your ass. It is changed for 6th edition. So for anyone who's playing 6th edition, it's no longer just a luck stat. It is definitely an edge. It's about gaining like the tactical edge in a situation. But in Shadowrun 5th edition, it just really boils down to luck. So the way the two basic ways you're going to use this are you're going to roll a bunch of dice. You're not going to be happy with the result, so you're going to spend one of your edge points. Your edge attribute creates a pool of edge points at the beginning of every campaign or what have you that you can regenerate slowly. And you're going to re-roll all the dice that you don't like. So when you have a brick of 30 dice that you're rolling and only 5 of them came up and you're like, screw that, you can spend a point of edge to roll 25 more dice, basically. The other way you do it is that you can roll before you roll the dice. So then you add your edge rating, your attribute rating of edge to the dice pool. So you add a few more dice, you roll, and then you count up your successes, and then you count how many 6s are available, and you just roll those again for more successes. And then count out your 6s, and then roll those again, continuing on exploding 6s. Those are the two main ways that people use edge. There are other ways, but those two are enough for you to make some decisions about what you want your edge to be. Your magic is the other one. This is literally the raw power of your magical abilities. And for an adept, it's going to determine how many points you have to spread amongst your various magical abilities. 4 is good, but no one, if you make a magic character, you want it to be 6. You have 4 points to spend between the edge and the magic. You can only get to a 6 in magic. So if you were to do it on just that baseline, yeah.
And so I have 3 edge already. So are we suggesting we take it out of edge and then put it into magic, or do I still just have 4 points?
Well, he's done it already. So when you're seeing that 3 and that 6, you're seeing that Aaron has already moved those points around.
I made some assumptions.
All right.
So yeah,
ahead of the game, my man.
So we got chat here. Does anyone in chat disagree that if you have a magic character that you should not put those points in magic? Anybody?
Well, there's like a 3-second delay, so. What? Kender says Magic 6. I said Magic 6 from.
Kender Mage says Magic 6. He's got Mage in his name. What more do you want? So.
Yeah,
whoa, where did all this hate for Kender Mage come from?
Teslin says depends on flavor. What is this flavor?
Chicken.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, there definitely might be reasons and conceptual things to have a lower starting magic. I have made a character that didn't start at Magic 6.
Yep. Edge 5, right?
And
Magic.
It did just fine. Well, it was because it was an Edge 8 character, so Magic was 4. That was why. But yeah, that does. So let's see, 3 in Edge, 6 in Magic, and now we're going to go to let's do skills.
All right. This is a long laundry list. So
skills to pay the bills. All right, let's go.
Well, way I usually I organize them by the attribute that I want to base them off of. That way I can focus on the ones I care about the most first, which for you is a boxer, right? So that's going to be agility based.
Yep. I tend to group them by what kind of skills they are. So like combat skills, which in a lot of cases ends up being pretty much the same, right? But like physical skills versus social skills, etc. So it generally tends to be the same, but there can be some outliers in that. Close combat skills is where you're going to start, and obviously unarmed combat. Period. That goes. We don't even have to ask about
all the way up.
All right. So here's some quick questions for you. Do you care about bows and arrows?
I care about punching them out of the way. Like, no.
Okay. Do you care about being really good at shooting stuff with bullets? Given that you punch as hard, given that you punch as hard as an AR-15, do you care about guns?
I would
good.
say a little bit,
Okay.
right? Like, because if somebody's
A
like
little bit.
150 meters away from you,
Okay, let's talk about that. So let's say someone is 150 meters away. You're a boxer. Hopefully you've got some guys that are on your team that can do some pot shots while you're trying to get that 150 meters. But let's talk about 150 meters away. Land movement. Every round, every 3 seconds, you're going to cover a sixth of that because you can move 24 meters a round. And that's if we don't add anything to your agility later. Okay. So you can cover 24 meters around before you actually are pushing to run faster. Okay. So, and if you are in that very, very rare situation where you're at one goalpost on the football field and the shooter is on the other goalpost of the football field and you have to get across the football field, you're going to be sad. And you're going to be sad even if you take some points in any firearms. Just putting that out there. In any other situation where there's anything to like run between and hide behind and get to and all that kind of stuff, you're going to be fine. And I believe at about half that distance, if you really, really wanted to, you could start, Teslin says, throw rocks at them. But you're gonna get to them. It'd be a very rare situation where you would be like, oh my God, I really wish I had a gun. In any other situation, because of certain vagaries in how movement works in Shadowrun, no, you don't care. You get to the person you want to punch faster than bullets.
All right, just Dempsey roll my way up there.
Yeah. Movement in Shadowrun is basically however fast you can move. That's basically like teleportation points. If you can move 24 meters in a round, that's basically 24 meters of teleportation you have that round, because it's you move on your go and you can move up to all of it. So if someone's 20 meters away on your go, you just... Now, once you've used those up, you're out of them. But yeah, there's no like, how quickly do you get to that guy? Does he have time to respond or react? That said, being able to use a gun is good.
Battlefield.
Yeah, don't crawl across the field. But that said, I would say that, you know, maybe put like put a little check on long arms, and then if you have points somewhere later to spend on it, if you had a certain amount of skill points, you might throw a couple on there just in case. But then in that case, I'd just go with throwing weapons.
Yeah, with the strength that you've got?
Yeah, I'd rather just go with throwing weapons.
Yeah, because that's what he's all about.
I always had that. Yeah, throwing punches and bottles and tables.
Yeah. So maybe throwing weapons, we'll put that on the side. The great thing about having a high agility is that any weapon is something you can default to. So at a 6 agility, you already shoot and throw and sword and club about as good as any normal person who's maybe trained to like the first black belt level of a commercial martial art. Just already.
All right. And then, so what do I need to do to be like, I don't know, the heavyweight champ of the world then?
We're getting there.
6 is... Oh, we're getting... Alrighty.
Yeah. Well, we're saying 6 agility, so that's before we add any skills. And we're going to be pumping up your unarmed combat skill pretty soon. So let's see. What do you got? Okay, what's our next?
Physical?
What's our next category? Physical. So this is where, oops. This is where your sort of your special kind of the skills that you've trained are. We're looking at, these are the skills that we're looking at, and I'm gonna give you a thumbs up on anything we probably want to talk about. So disguise, diving, escape artist, free fall, gymnastics, palming. That's a conceptual skill that you might want to keep in mind. Perception, probably want to throw a couple points in there if you have them. Running, this is part of your movement. Sneaking, survival, swimming, and tracking.
Yeah, definitely need the running for the road work. No boxer doesn't. Every boxer runs.
Every boxer runs.
Now, running is based on strength. So, as an orc, you're already got a leg up in that category with your existing strength of 7.
There.
Yeah.
Leg up.
So
running, put the quotes on it. I see.
Running's definitely one of those skills that if you don't have it at a time that you need it, you're like womp womp, and it feels bad. And when you do have it when you need it, you feel like a god.
That's not
depending on your
perception.
Yes. Depending on your GM, running may or may not come up, but in mine, what'll end up happening is there'll be a situation and everyone will have like position themselves, and so I take that into account. So the guy who's like way back and then the fight like moves into a building and he doesn't have line of sight to hit anybody anymore and he's got to get there, it makes a big difference there. Perception and again, so your gymnastics that's going to be your ability to climb, your ability to get over, under, around stuff quickly.
Hardcore parkour.
How far you can jump. Yeah, your parkour. Yeah, gymnastics for you is more of the parkour and climbing rather than parallel bars and floor routines.
Gotcha.
Though with a good gymnastics, you could do floor routines.
You know, get the iron rings going, the low bars.
Well, it works with your charisma, right?
Even.
You know, like you're in the middle of a fight and you're like, hold up, and then you get your little twirler, your ribbon, and then you do some floor routines and and the bag and a little bit of performance with charisma, and the bad guys are so enamored they just
I like the cut of your jib, my man. Yeah.
But mostly you take it for the over under around. Yeah, mostly it's for the over under around.
Yeah, and a lot of these are you just grab them so typically when I'm building a character, I grab them at a point, and then later on I go review all of my things that I have at one point, and I decide like, am I going to invest more points or am I going to just spend 2 points of karma to make it 1 point and call it good, so I don't have to default. So, and that gets back to, I think we talked a little bit about defaulting, which if you ever want to do a skill that you're not trained in, and there's a couple you can't, but you'll end up rolling whatever your base attribute is -1. And so if you're good enough, that's great. But if not, then you just grab one level in that skill, and that costs you 2 karma, and now you get 2 dice back. And so it's a really like cost-effective way of dealing with that.
Gotcha.
Indeed, especially for those skills that go with attributes that are high.
Yep. So I've marked perception as 3, and I've marked running as 3.
Okay.
And gymnastics, palming, and sneaking I put at 1, which means that we may want to buy them later with some karma as opposed to with the skill points.
Yeah, and we can get to that. The beautiful thing, real quick, about your skill points here in unarmed combat is that 4 of those points were free because you are a physical adept with a magic set at the C priority.
So we have social, Magical and pseudo-magical. Arcana.
Yeah. All right, social skills. This is going to be a quick one. Because your charisma is 3, it doesn't mean like it's a complete waste to take any social skills, but at the same time, none of these are really necessary for your concept or build, except for, and this is completely a conceptual skill. It's not going to be one that you're going to really be needing on your shadow runs. So I'm going to list them off, and then we'll talk about the one. So con. Etiquette, impersonation, instruction, intimidation, leadership, negotiation, performance.
Performance.
Yeah, that's the one when you're coming into the ring and you're trying to make the crowd go wild. That's performance. It will do absolutely nothing for you anywhere else, but when you're in the ring doing your boxing ring. 100%.
We need more performance. No man wants to underperform.
Yeah. Intimidation. I mean, maybe you wanna go with intimidation instead of performance, and instead of having a fireworks and rousing, enter the ring, you're more of a Undertaker, and you just walk in slowly, and then you just stare into the dude's eyes and make him feel really tiny, and maybe that's your shtick, and then you take intimidation instead. Which then does have its uses.
Oh yeah.
But that is definitely a decision for you.
So I marked both as a 1 so we can make a decision when we see all of them together. Magical we can skip. I guess technical?
Yep, we could skip magic. All right, so let's get into the technical skills. You're not going to be a mechanic. You're not a dog trainer. You don't even shoot guns, so you're not an armorer. You're an artisan, but that's covered under your unarmed combat skill. So you're not a doctor. You're not a chemist. You're not a hacker. You don't blow things up. Locksmith. You had mentioned that maybe in a prior life your character did do maybe some light B&E, so maybe kind of throw that in there at a 1 for now and see what we got. And that's it. That's easy. Tech skills.
Learn how to do minor rapping or whatnot in the gym.
That'd be performance.
Like some first aid.
Oh, okay.
No, like a first aid.
First aid, okay.
Yeah, you could put a point of first aid in. The reason I wouldn't necessarily take it as a skill per se is that this is far enough in the future that even the cheapest boxing ring is probably going to have some sort of like automated, kit stuff that would help. Putting that point there, that gives you the ability to know like what side of the Band-Aid goes on the wound. And if that's kind of the extent of the first aid knowledge you're thinking of, like how to apply my wraps and bandages, that's actually that's not even the 1 point in first aid, right? So and you can actually get just automated kits that will do way better first aid than you will, even if you took up to 5 points in first aid at this point.
Yeah, because your logic is 1 at this point. So
at this point.
All right. And then there's driving, which with dollars is basically 0.
So I have what, 5 cents?
Well, you'd have enough money for like a Vespa,
but then nothing else.
But you'll probably want
a Vespa and an MP3 player.
Yeah, but then you'd be tapped out. You would be completely tapped out. Vehicle skills for you. You're not going to be able to pump them up to any level that you would be good in like a combat driving situation, and you don't need skills for normal road travel, right? So it's the same boat as first aid. It's one of those things where if you have some reason why you want to be really good at it, then great. But if you're just talking about the basics, like I just want to have like the basic ability to kind of take care of myself, get around, you don't even need to have a point in it for that.
All right. So we've gone through all the sort of groups of the skills. I went and flipped it around, so now we've got all the skills that we've put a 1 or higher in. So these are ones that we've kind of flagged that it might be worthwhile investing. And we've got 4 skill points left to spend, which means we may subtract some from the ones we highlighted, or we may want to do other tricks to deal with them.
Right. And so when he talks about other tricks, one of the things he's talking about is at the end of all this, you're going to have 25 or more karma points. You're going to spend some of those on qualities, but you can also spend them. We're probably going to spend about 10 of those on raising your logic to a 2, just so you're not like a brick. Other than that, to get these ones in all these skills is going to cost 2 points of those 25 points each. So right now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7. So with 14 points, you'd have enough to get ones in all of those and actually take those 7 and make your perception and running 6s and give yourself a specialization in 1 if you wanted. Not to say that's what you should do, but definitely we can take some of these 1s and take those points out and put those into something else so that you can be better at them.
Yeah. I don't think I'll. Yeah, I'm not going to be like an intimidating type of dude. So let's go ahead and take a point out of intimidation.
All right.
Let's see. Palming. Yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of that too.
So during your life of crime, you weren't a pickpocket at all. Just a little bit of a B&E guy.
Just a B&E type of dude. And thinking, yeah, we'll keep that.
Sneaking's useful.
Everything else looks pretty. Yeah, being able to throw things. Well, throwing my throwing weapon skill doesn't need to be that high since my agility is max already, right? Is that
Right.
what you were saying
So
before?
right now, what I'm saying is, with throwing weapons at 1 and your agility at 6, you're really good at horseshoes, like really good at horseshoes. Okay. And if we're talking about throwing grenades, you're going to put that grenade where you want it, like 90% of the time. Okay. So are we talking about kunai? Are we talking about throwing knives and stuff like that? Well, if we're talking about that, like specific throwing weapons that need to be on target and thrown fast, you could stand to put some more points into throwing weapons.
Okay.
To get those on point. So that's the idea. That's where we're at with those.
All right. Cool bean. So let's put some more, a couple more points in that. I want to be surgical with like a beer bottle.
If you want to be surgical with the beer bottle, you might as well put that up to 6 and then specialize in improvised weapons.
I'd like to specialize, if anything, in punching you in the jaw, but I still want to be really good at hitting you with a fucking Coors Light. If you're talking shit across the bar, dude, that fucking Macallan is coming right at your ass. Right?
All right. So even if you even putting your throwing weapons to 6, and taking that specialization in improvised weapons, and I say that half, it would actually be non-aerodynamic, because as opposed to improvised, but I mean, yeah, you could still take some of those ones out, or rather, for each one that you have, you can add that to one of the other skills at a cost of about 2 of your ending karma. But we can come back to that during the karma spend phase, I think, Aaron.
Yeah. Well, we're at a -1 right now, so I'm going to drop perception down to 3, and then we'll come back.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's talk about your magic.
Adept powers.
All right.
This is going to pop up and you can't see it. Yep.
Dude, Kindermage is going hard in the paint over here.
Window capture.
Is upset.
Okay.
And I just happen to be good at everything. I don't want to be good at everything, okay? Please.
All right. So
Wow. Sarah's just gunning for you. Like he's like, I want to be good at punching
I
things
know,
and
right?
throwing beer bottles at people. And she's like,
I know, right?
all right.
so there's a ton of
To be
added
good at
powers.
analog things.
Ton of added power. That said, you're looking for boxing, right? And so for me, the first thing I think about is increasing my base agility. Like,
So there's when increasing your base agility, um, let's just real quick so we can kind of like bring this list down a little bit. Let me start at the top and just suggest every single one that is probably interesting for this build so that we can just work off of that shorter list. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or does Hummer work that way?
I don't get to like highlight them. I can add them and then delete them later.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Okay,
Yeah.
so starting from the top, let's put adrenaline boost over.
Okay.
Let's put attribute boost over, and of course that's going to be agility. Probably won't end up taking it, but just to talk about it, berserk.
Sounds like fun.
All right.
Combat sense. Counter strike. Critical strike.
That will be for unarmed.
Yep. Enhanced accuracy, which we're probably not going to take because your
Physical limits.
physical limits are already really high. Let's see.
Actually, it doesn't allow that. It's a charmer bug. Okay.
Okay. Improved ability. Improved physical attribute.
I like being improved. I like
Yep.
I like the language you're using right now.
We're gonna put improved reflexes over so we can talk about that.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's do. Killing hands needs to go over.
Yeah. Yes. Killing hands. It definitely sounds like something that I kind of want. Apparently, no. Don't do killing hands.
Missile parry. Because I heard someone say something about punching bullets out of the air. It won't be bullets, but
That would be awesome.
mystic
Punch
armor.
bullets out of the air.
Mystic armor instead of just so we can talk about it. Penetrating strike.
Okay.
And
penetrating.
Yep. I think Spirit Claw. And that's enough for this boxer thing. There's a bunch of other cool ones that you know, it would be like, yeah, if I could, I'd take all of these, but let's go here. All right.
Uh,
I did hear one other one, which would be elemental strike.
Yeah, elemental strike. Did I miss that?
Yeah.
Throw that in. Yeah, definitely throw that in for this.
Because you said fire, you wanted
Hearing
flaming
things
fist.
about jazz.
Yeah. So All right, so we're gonna go through the traps first. So we added these traps. So,
Okay.
all right, we talked about how about your initiative before. So the way initiative works in 5th edition is you're gonna roll some dice. You're gonna add that to a base initiative, which yours is gonna be pretty good already out the gate. And then everyone's gonna go in order from top to bottom. Once everyone is gone, we're gonna subtract 10 from everyone's initiative, and whoever's got a positive initiative left goes again from top to bottom. And then when everyone's done, we're going to subtract 10, and anyone who's still got a positive initiative score, we're going to go again from top to bottom until we finally get to where no one has a positive initiative score anymore, okay? And people can get initiative rolls of like 40 plus. Out the gate, it's possible. All right. So
Don't get a
so
turn,
basically,
just running around in circles.
so basically, it's like you could build a fighter that gets to do action surge every turn, right? Meanwhile, like your rogue gets 1 attack per turn, So that's kind of the way we're looking at it. So obviously, in a game like this, the more times you go, the more damage you can put on target, right? So you want to go a lot more often. And so what everyone likes to take is improve reflexes, because that is directly gives you bonuses to that. It increases your reaction, which is a direct increase to your initiative, and it gives you dice to roll to your initiative. However, it's super expensive, and you cannot combine it with any other increase. So this is where like stacking is you have to really pay attention to stacking, because there are some things where you can stack and things where you can't. So with this added power improve reflexes, that's the limit. No stacking. Because of the stacking rule, if it wasn't for the stacking rule, this could be a good ability. Maybe not the most optimum, but still good. But because of that stacking limitation, it is garbage. Garbage. Get rid of it. So that's the idea. Everyone's going to look at this, and it says it right there, and everyone's like, this is the ability, and it's expensive, so it must be good, etc. And so everyone takes it, but it is a trap. Just
Thank
don't.
you, because I would have ran right over that grenade.
Yeah. So.
But
that said,
would have fucked my shit up.
Yeah, that said, we do want to have that high, so we'll come back to how to raise that. All right. So next up, what is so someone so we talk about killing hands a little bit. So there is killing hands at its most basic level changes your damage from stun to physical. It is a power you can turn on and off. So if you have it off, you're doing stun. So when you're in the boxing ring, you have it off, you're doing stun. When you're not in the boxing ring and you want to murder people, you turn it on and they die. All right. If that's all
I have it on
was,
all the time.
Yeah, if that's all it was changing stun to physical, it's a trap. For the same cost, we can get something that will raise it, that will give us that same ability and some additional armor and some additional body soak stuff, okay? However, what Killing Hands also does is it turns your hands into magical weapons. That's important because spirits are very it's really hard to kill them without magical weapons. It's possible, but it's not easy. And with Killing Hands, you become the spirit slayer. Like spirits, what? I don't care. It's just giant bear spirit pulls up on you and you're just like, nope, punch, gone. So
I'm about this.
But we have elemental strike
I would
too,
say,
right?
yeah, and Killing Hands is also the base for your elemental strike. So if you want, flaming punch or an electrical punch, which is my recommendation, or if you want to take any other like ability that relies on your unarmed combat to do it, Killing Hands is the basis for that. So you're probably going to need some Killing Hands. Mystic Armor. So this is one that people want. They think they want because it's going to stop them from taking damage. All right, so this is why it's a trap. You get the same amount of dice for avoiding damage with Combat Sense, but Combat Sense will eventually get to a point where you reach a threshold and avoid all the damage. Whereas Mystic Armor is never going to reach that threshold unless the damage was really low. So of the two, they're equivalent, but Combat Sense is just way better. So if you're choosing between the two, its combat sense over Mystic Armor, and as expensive as Mystic Armor is, just buy real armor. So that's the trap of Mystic Armor. Get it out of here.
Gone.
All right. Now let's talk about
Banished.
attribute boost versus. Well, let's talk about Berserk. Berserk I put up here because for your character, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. That said, I wouldn't buy it out the gate. That would be one of the things that I would reach for. Okay, I would eventually want to like add into my kit. But out the gate, it's one of those that if I have the point for it, I'll take it. But there's other things you can get. But it is definitely a fun ability because you take it and you get a bonus of 1 to all your physical attributes with a -1 to your mental attributes. When it's punch time,
It's punch time.
Yeah. So, but it's a pretty beefy ability to give you that +1 to all your physical attributes. Let's see, attribute boost. So we're talking attribute boost versus improved physical attribute. So improved physical attribute at a cost of 1 of your points. You have 6, by the way, 6 points to spread. At a cost of 1 of these points, it's going to permanently raise that attribute by 1 point. And that's an actual raise of the attribute. Attribute boost, however, allows you to temporarily raise the attribute by the amount of successes you get on that test, with the caveat that it's not an actual raise. It only raises it in terms of your dice pools. So what does that mean? So your strength is 7. So your base damage is 7. If I take improved attribute, physical attribute strength, my strength becomes 8. So my base damage is 8. With attribute boost, I could maybe get a bonus of up to 4 on that strength. So it's just like a 7. It goes to like 11. But that's only for things I roll dice on. Your base damage is still just 7. Okay. So this is something that the difference is like your body and your strength, you would need to use improved physical attribute to raise those to get the actual benefit. But like for your agility, which is where you're going to want to put some points of attribute boost, yeah, you can run faster if you get it to a literal 7 or 8, but it's really expensive for that. Whereas if you get your attribute boost up to 4, you could get your max agility bonus as if you have an agility of 10 for only the point. The other caveat is there is a drain, which means that at the end of the boost, you might suffer some physical stress. But that's probably not going to happen before the end of the fight. The way,
and it is a limited time period too. Boosts can only last for magic rounds, I believe.
It's based on your hits, I think. Let's see. Your pools last for combat turns equal to twice the number of hits you get. So if you get your 4 hits, it's going to last for 8 combat turns. Combat does not last for 8 combat turns. So
yeah, you're generally fine.
Yeah, so you're generally going to be fine. And then because of its expense, I tend to not take the actual improved physical attribute out the gate. I just feel there's better ways to spend your points. So I take an attribute boost for agility of 4, which only costs me 1 point, and then I call it for attributes. Let's talk about Counter-Strike. This is another like nice to have. It allows if they attack you with a melee unarmed combat attack, you can do an interrupt real quick that costs 5 of your initiative to basically stop them from hitting you and hit them instead. It's pretty expensive for what it is. Yeah, it's pretty expensive for what it is. So it's a nice to have. Let's see, your critical strike is going to add 1 to your base damage. Let's see, your penetrating strike gives you armor penetration on your attack, which is something that you're gonna want if you have the points. It's a nice to have. Combat sense, again, we talked about it, and you said you want to have that, bob and weave, get out of the way. That's your combat sense. And adrenaline boost. So we talked about not taking improved reflexes. Adrenaline boost is where you're going to make that up. For every point you put into adrenaline boost, you just get a base +2 to your initiative score for that combat round. The caveat here is that we talked about for attribute boost how after the duration you might take some physical stress. With adrenaline boost, it only lasts for the round, so you have a potential to take that physical stress at the end of every round. That said, with your body 7, willpower 3, you're not going to have a problem.
Issues. Alrighty.
So it ends up being this. So with your body at 7, your logic at willpower at 3, you're going to have 10 points to soak whatever your rating and adrenaline boost is in damage. So that's going to, about 3 is the average on that, about 2 to 3. So you'll probably maybe take a point here and there, but you're going to be dishing out, the amount of damage you're going to dish out in exchange for that is just, it's huge. So I would say put adrenaline boost either at 3 or 4.
Sounds good to me.
And missile parry, that's just a fun one. If if that's what you want to do, that's there. It's not necessarily an optimum sort of thing, but you can get rid of it if you want.
I would
elemental.
Let's go ahead and get rid of that.
Yeah.
I was just talking shit when I was saying punching shit out of the air.
Yeah. So get rid of missile parry. Elemental strike. I would set that at electricity. The funny thing about magical elemental damage is that it doesn't continue beyond the initial strike. So things don't necessarily catch fire if you have a fire fist, and they don't, the acid doesn't stay on them if you do it with acid. But electrical is a one and done effect. So you don't lose anything because it's a magical source. So, and basically it makes them, if you hit them with your elemental strike electricity, it slows them down.
Yeah, I'm down with having an electrifying personality manifest itself in his fist.
That's right.
I'm cool with this.
Spirit Claw.
Let's see. Spirit Claw. So Spirit Claw, this is going to basically add damage to when you do hit a spirit. It's a nice to have. How much does it cost?
A quarter point.
A quarter point. Yeah, at a quarter point, it's really nice to have, and it's one of those abilities that can really fill in if you've been like spending quarter points elsewhere. You just kind of have that quarter point. Where are we at in terms of how many points we've spent?
So I've put 3 in adrenaline boost, 4 in attribute boost, 3 in combat sense. We have critical strike, improved ability unarmed combat, killing hands.
Okay.
Penetrating strike 2, spirit claw, elemental strike, electricity, and that puts us at 6 power points total.
Okay. So where can we? What can we maybe change? I think this is good. Combat sense at 3 is really nice. That's really nice. Critical strike, improved ability, unarmed combat. Yeah, the only thing that I would think here is the only place where I would kind of be thinking is the improved ability. Like improved ability 1 for that. Is that something I could put somewhere else?
That extra half gets you another combat sense.
Yeah, another combat sense could be good, because that could be the difference between taking any damage at all. So that's where I'd probably put it if I were to move it.
Let's go with it.
Yeah, and then when later on you can build your character deeper and add to your abilities, you can get an extra. If you get a full point, you can take 2 in that improved ability, and you get 2 more dice in punching.
Right.
But that's later.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so I think that's our 6 points.
Yep.
All right. Very nice. Quick time hack. We're at an hour and 15 minutes. Hey, boss. Are we still going? Because I know you normally want us at 8:30. See if she responds on Twitch here.
She's given us 15.
Oh yeah. No, the meeting is happening. You can't get out of it. All right. What's next?
All right, so I think next is if we wanted to do a martial art.
So we do want to do a martial art for your concept. So your three options. There are a lot of martial arts, but your three options for your concept that we'll talk about, since we only have 15 minutes, is boxing, boxing, and boxing. And I say it that way because there's a brawler style, a classic style, and a swarmer style. So the difference is, so boxing classic, that's just your basic boxing style. Swarmer style is like faster but not as powerful, and then brawler style is, you know, your beefy boxing style. Both of them have all three of them have the haymaker, which is your money technique. So really you're just going for whether you want to be more precise in your head canon. Are you more of a precise bob and weave guy, or are you more of a like get in there and just beat them into submission? Or are you a classic boxer?
I kind of view him kind of like a Thomas the Hitman Hearns. If you are you a classical boxing fan?
You know, Tyson once
Or
bit someone's ear off, and that was the end of boxing for me.
fair enough. Fair enough. Let's go with Swarmer.
Okay.
Kind of like moves, darts in and out, like rolling and whatnot.
All right.
What punches and what have you.
And you get a free technique with that. And so we're just going to start that free technique, I think, again, to kind of move things along with the haymaker.
Boom.
So the haymaker, basically, when you punch, you can choose to use the haymaker. They get a little bit of a bonus to their defense because, you know, this is a telegraphed attack, right? You're like reaching way back to punch them and swinging really wild. So they get a little bit of a bonus to their defense. But if you hit, they take an extra point of damage. So that's really all it does. But because you are specialized in boxing, you get a +2 to your attack when you use the haymaker. So it kind of mitigates that +2 to their defense. All right.
It's kind of like a +1 to damage, right?
Yeah.
Because for every 1 point over, you do an additional point of damage, right?
Yeah, for every point over that you get a success, you can do an additional point of damage. Okay. But yeah, so the negative, but what I'm saying is that the negative for using the haymaker is mitigated by your positive for having specialization here.
Okay.
Now, qualities. I think that with just 10 minutes left, I don't know that we'll be able to cover all the qualities in.
We can cherry pick a couple. Well,
yeah.
Like on the positive side, because I think on the negative, it's sort of filling out what other additional karma you want, and then taking on aspects that are less ideal than in a situation.
Right.
I have a gluten allergy. How many karma does that give me?
A gluten allergy? That will give you a pretty decent amount of karma. Let's see here. What is this? Oh, okay. Let's see. Gonna go down. I'm gonna pull out some of the ones that I think are just like these are the ones you need. Because there certainly are a lot that you can take.
He has gymnastics, so acrobatic defender is good. It's not great.
Agile defender.
Agile is better, yeah.
and we'll talk about why in a moment. Let's see. Oh, mentor spirit. You definitely wanted that.
Yes. How dope is that? That's just a skill. I was like, yeah, I'd like a character, like tap into his like that old boxing trainer. Oh, you mean mentor spirit? That random skill you could just get? I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. All right.
I was reaching outside the box.
I think I've got. Well, I pulled 24 points out here. So Agile Defender. So the way qualities work is that at the beginning you can buy up to 25 points of positive qualities, and that is going to cut into your karma, your 25 starting karma. You can also buy up to 25 points of negative qualities, which will then add to your karma pool. So for example, if you bought no positive qualities and bought 25 points of negative qualities, that would give you 50 karma to spend on your character. Nobody does that. That's dumb. If you bought all positive qualities and didn't get any negative qualities at all, you would have used up all your karma. So the idea is that you can basically buy your positive, buy your negative, equal them out, and then still have karma to spend on your character. The positive qualities I want to go over for this character are Agile Defender. So Aaron had mentioned Acrobatic Defense, or what is
It's Acrobatic Defender as well. That's
Acrobatic Defender. So the defender qualities basically allow you to do something called go full defense and add a bonus. Like you can go full defense, but what you do is you add your willpower to your defense, but it costs 10 of that initiative, right? So it's basically going to cost you a turn to get that. If you have a lot of turns, then it doesn't hurt you as much, and then it makes it really hard to hit you. So Acrobatic Defender allows you to add your gymnastics score to your defense, which your gymnastics was what, like 3?
I think we have it set for
Like
1
that,
right
yeah.
now, or maybe it's
Set for 1. So Agile Defender allows you to add your agility to the score. So between 1 and 6, obviously 6 is better. They cost about the same. But the other problem is once you, with Acrobatic Defender, you then bring your limits into play because you're using a skill. With Agile Defender, you are not bringing your limits into play. That said, in the long run, your skill can go higher than 6, whereas your agility will not generally go higher than 6. But because you took attribute boost, agility, if you use Agile Defender, that power then stacks into this. So that's why you want Agile Defender. So it's one of those things where when you get your initiative and if you have like over 20 and you're just in a situation where you just don't want to get hit by anybody, you just burn 10 of that for full defense, and you'll be rolling 5, 10, 14, 20 dice for defense. Does that sound okay? Yeah. Anybody?
Rolling
20,
dice.
20,
it's
20
good.
for defense. Yep. Yeah. Most bad guys won't. Most mooks will not have anywhere near that to shoot at you, so you probably just won't get shot. All right, I put common sense here. Common sense is something that I have new players take, and I use it as as just a way for me as the GM to let people know what will and will not work in terms of ideas that they may have. But it's that's really dependent on your GM as to like how useful that can be. If you have a really kind GM, then maybe don't take it because they're going to tell you all that stuff anyway.
How means our GM?
I'm overly nice. Cinematic.
Yeah. If it was me, take common sense. If it's Aaron, you don't need it.
Pretty accurate.
All right. Drug tolerant. So if you are going to be, which you are, combat stims, drug tolerance pretty good if you care about not getting addictions. Okay. Next up, mentor spirit. This is a must-have for your concept because you wanted to have that mentor spirit. And then finally, natural athlete, which gives you a +2 to any athletics test that you make, which you have running and gymnastics right off the bat. So it's giving you four total bonus like spread out. So that's what I suggest for your positive qualities. Drug tolerant, that's totally one that's going to be like dependent on how you feel about your character in this world becoming addicted to combat stims. If that's something that you kind of want to not happen, then you should definitely take it. If you don't care because there's not really a mechanical negative to just being highly addicted to drugs in this game, then it's not necessary. Again, it could be GM dependent. Like a GM could like start running a whole thing about how you're like completely burned out and starts giving you negatives to stuff, like because realistically they think that's what would happen, but that is not supported by the game rules.
Yeah.
So
we got T-4 minutes, by the way. Just giving.
Yep. We also need a mentor, right?
We do need to pick a mentor.
Yeah.
So I think we have enough time to pick a mentor, and then we can do negative qualities.
A different one, yeah.
Later. So your mentor spirit, you want Burgess Meredith, like, but as a spirit. That's what I'm hearing.
Alrighty, who is this Meredith you speak of?
Burgess, come on, it's
Rocky Strainer.
he's the guy that played Rocky's coach.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, you're right.
Right. So I think that what we're looking at here is Dragon Slayer is the most heroic of mentor spirits and also fun-loving, fights to protect his own against all dangers. So this would be like if your coach is kind of like urging you to, be the people's champion while you fight. You get a +2 bonus for one social skill of choice, and a free level of enhanced accuracy and danger sense. And you can't break promises. No breaking your promises. Next is let's look at. It's definitely not going to be Peacemaker. Let's look at the old wise warrior, skilled in the art of war, or in your case, boxing. Battle is an art, an exercise in the powers of the mind as well as the body. Studies the tactics of foes and overcomes them through strategy and battle prowess. +2 to leadership. One free level of improved ability on a combat skill. That's pretty good. But you can't bite anyone's ears off. The disadvantage is if you act dishonorably or without courtesy, you'll start taking penalties.
So we got a go shark.
Ear biting. I mean, if your trainer is like a crazed, predatory monster of a guy, we could go shark. Let's see, what else do we have? Wolf.
Brother at Arms?
Oh, that's one I don't have. Berserker, just straight up. You get into a fight and you just go off. It does give you the 2 levels of mystic armor, which are I'd say
or 2 levels of pain resistance.
That could be okay. Thunderbird, the Storm Incarnate.
Okay, that's the first time I've ever heard that. This is like, you could be the Storm Incarnate. Meh.
For the concept.
That's it.
Let's see. So wise war. War is basically just war. I think that's too broad for like what you're looking at in terms of interpretations. So wise warrior, Berserker, or Dragon Slayer, I think, are the ones that make the most sense for
or Wolf.
How you want to personify your spirit.
Wolf might make sense.
The only reason I wouldn't go Wolf, in terms of, I mean, it's great for what you get out of it, but it is like it's sort of a boxer is like a lone fighter, right? You're in the ring one-on-one. Wolf is more like a pack thing. Yep. So that's why, but that's only a headcanon thing, right? Mechanically, it doesn't make a difference. You get some free agility boost, and you can't retreat from a fight as wolf. And then like there's an alternate, but I don't think we're looking at the alternate. So mechanically, wolf would be really good. It just in my head canon, it doesn't feel like a solo battler, but something to think about.
Yeah.
But we're at time.
Yeah.
Something to think about as we cut, and we'll probably reconvene. We'll set a time to reconvene and just finish this out.
All right. Yeah, sounds good.
Much, guys. This was a blast. Thanks.
Thank you,
For
Chris.
running me through this.
Anytime.
All right. Thanks, audience. Peace.
Yep, we got to go to work. We got a big thing coming up, and Sarah needs us at the meeting. So we'll catch everybody later.